attention. My name is Gregory Hill. I'm a toy maker, Quetzon and Hopi. I thank you guys all for coming. I'm glad to see it's a bigger turnout than last year. I'm glad our little area here seems like a very nice one, so I'm looking forward to coming again in September, I believe. How many of you little kids know what inertia is? Anybody? Inertia is a force that builds up when something spins. Like a good example is what's called a turbine. A turbine generates power. So then a big thing about inertia is that it can come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. My way of creating that energy is through a spinning top. How many of you little guys know what a spinning top is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Long time ago, when we were small, like when your great grandfather and grandparents were small, we had toys that were created from wood. We didn't have a whole lot of like plastic toys or iPhones or video games and whatnot. So if we wanted to have fun, we would have to go out and work at it. So a way to do that is by making a spinning top. The spinning top is a toy that's found around the world in the same shape or form or method of play. You'd be surprised that although the world is this big old humongous place, we're all connected through something as simple as a little toy. Through my method of making the tops are from what I learned when I was a child. Out on Hopi, we call them riampi or petitya, which means to spin. So riampi would be a spinning toy. And then when I'm a meat cutter by trade, I'm a butcher by trade, so I've never touched knife to wood until 2006, I believe, when my little girl, Leticia, she was in kindergarten, and the teacher one day sent her home with the note and a little piece of cottonwood root. The note said, your child has a pen pal in Zuni, New Mexico, so we'd like to share our culture with them by having you, the parents, make them riampi, a spinning top. Okay? Oh, cool. Where are they from?
Oregon.
Oh, nice. Right on. It's always raining in Oregon. So I have two tops in Oregon. Yes.
I have pen pals.
Oh, nice. The pen pals are good. It helps you share your ideas and your cultures with other people. So then, continuing on. I never touched knife to wood before, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I wasn't a wood carver. So my very first top was really rough and all carved just using a knife. I actually cut my thumb open my very first time, so that was like my lesson in wood cutting or wood carving. So my very first top was completed, and it was real rough, kind of looked a little bit rougher than this, and then it kind of spun, not as well as that, but it spun a little bit, and to me I was like, I would wish to have it spin a bit longer and better, so I think, it really bothered me that it didn't spin. So when I had time from working as a meat cutter, I would try to make tops. So over time, I try to get better learning. I don't have any peers, like I have no other toy makers, because it's kind of a dying thing. You don't see toy makers making handmade toys. A lot of the toys now are mass-produced using machines, plastic, metals, and whatnot. So I really didn't have anybody to teach me how to make carved wood. So pretty much through trial and error, slowly I started using my imagination and starting from just simple things, because I know everybody think of a top, they think of that shape, right, with the handle and then the point coming down. So then the Hopis, we had our tops were very simply shaped. They didn't have handles on there, and they mostly had a groove. The acorn, everybody know what an acorn is?
Yes.
Okay, so the acorn, they say, is the very, very first top that was ever played with, because it had the shape of a top already, like with the handle, and then the way the body is shaped into a tip. So then the very first top was an acorn top. And so when I learned how to make tops from the elders, they told me that going back to how we worked at playing, they told me that, well, when we had to have fun, we had to, get time away from the field. And when we had time, we would have to go to a rock, and get a piece of wood like this and go to a rock and then scrape, 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 scrape until you get to a point, the tip to spin it on. So imagine how long that would take to get a piece of wood and scrape it with the rock, So it took time, hence the saying that I go, if we had to have fun, we had to work at it. So we couldn't just go to the store, and buy a toy or a made toy already. We had to actually fashion the toy ourselves. So then, sticking to that aspect of it, as a toy maker or a top maker, as I soon became, I knew what a top was, the concept of a top and a spinning top, and so I took all of what I learned into transforming a piece of cottonwood root using just mostly rasps and saws. There's a machine that I could use called a lathe. It's a wood turning machine where you put a piece of wood into two nails and then that machine will spin that piece of wood. And then what you do is you use a chisel and then you touch it to it, and as it's spinning, it'll cut the wood down to a tip. So then rather than do that, I get myself connected to the aspect where you have to go and work at it. So with my tops, I just use a rasp in order to make the tip. So it starts off as this, and then I saw length off, and then just using this rasp here, I'll grind and grind and grind until I get the tip down. So then from there, otherwise I could use a lathe and have 1,000 tops, but then it would change the aspect of it. It would become a machine-made top and not a handmade top. So I like the fact that, if we had fun, we had to work at it. So then anyway, the importance of play. I'm sure you guys all like to play, right? When you go to recess and all of that and get a chance to go play, And so the same went for me and a lot of, your parents were little, but then what we had to do is we had to work for our play. And that would be in the form of chores, like you guys go home and, fix your bed or empty out your trash, whatever you guys got going on. So then that would make the act of playing more enjoyable because you would actually have to work at it and it would become more exciting, Hey, you get to go play. So then that little thing that we have within us, I like to call it little kid magic. Because, all of us have, as we grow older, I like to say that it becomes smaller. Sometimes we become grumpy, sometimes we don't really like to go play, and, I don't want to go move around or do this and that. So, what I'm hoping to do with my creations as a toy maker is to revitalize that little bit of kid magic that we all possess. And I like to say that we're never too old to play, and each one of us has a child within us, that inner child, they say. So as I'm hoping through my creations, through the use of movement, I try to enact that childlike wonder. You'd be surprised how many of my customers for my tops are older people, like in their 70s, 80s. My oldest customer was 92 years old. He was a fellow named Tom. And believe me, he was not a very nice old man. Just like I say, the age sometimes makes us grumpy. So then it was amazing to me that one day, as I was working on my tops and as I was spinning them, he saw it and he said, oh, his whole demeanor changed. He got brightened up and everything, and he said, I remember those, and said, long time ago, every time I speak with the elders, it's always long, it's like 8 O's in there, and that gives me a gauge of how long, ago they were playing with something that was to them was a big giant thing, but to us nowadays, it's like insignificant wooden, a piece of wood, because we got these wondrous things that are, inside your phone and through the use of technology, So then, anyway, back to Tom. After he saw my top spinning, it took him back to a place in his mind where he was a small child and he had that wonder. So his whole demeanor changed. He said, wow, I remember that. And he like got real giddy and he couldn't stop playing with it. And I think at that time I had a couple of blank pieces of tops that I was working on. So he asked me to make him one, his own personal top, because it took him back to that that childhood memory, that little bit of kid magic that was still inside of him, even though he was a grouchy old man. So then, that's why I always say that, we're never too old to play. You should embrace the joy of play, the dying art of play, I say, because a lot of times the kids, they're so caught up in their phones and the technology, they forget to become active and find other means to amuse themselves, Like when we were kids, we had to, I'm sure, go play knotted or tag and, just find ways to amuse ourselves. So the importance of play is what I'm hoping to revitalize in this world where, it's really a crazy world nowadays. So using a piece of wood and I guess my imagination and growing skill, I make the top, and here are examples of some of my finished works here. After all of my grinding and whatnot, I'll take the shape and pretty much wherever I think I can see inside the wood, that's what I'll carve. So this one's going to be like a rising sun and a setting sun on the both sides. So after I get them all ground down and to a point where I want it, I'll find a balance. And how I find the balance is through the center of the wood. You'll notice sometimes that the center or the bottom of the top doesn't match the handle, and that's where the balance lies. Is because where I went in my first statement was an axis. This one, I'll go back to this one. Right now we are all spinning on a top, which is the Earth, is because the Earth is spinning, and it's spinning on an axis, which is, you'll imagine this to the bottom, there's a straight line, that's the axis. So then the Earth is spinning around on that axis, so right now we're actually spinning on a gigantic top. So then to find that axis, see, you notice it's wobbly and it doesn't really spin very well. It's because it's not balanced. So the handle and the bottom aren't aligned together. So just using mostly feel, you'll notice that it's like not totally circular or anything. So how I find the balance in my tops is through mostly feel. I'll feel the wood, and if I feel it raised, then I'll take a rasp and then I'll grind that part down. So then it's all handmade and hand carved, and so just to a point where I finally use a sanding paper to find the very end of the balance to it. So you'll notice the difference between something like that and whereas this one right here, although it's, it would appear finished, there's a knot in the wood. Just that little tiny minute difference in weight throws this piece off, so I've been having a lot of troubles trying to spin it. It's just because of that little thing right there, and I can feel it as I'm putting my fingers around it. I can feel that little uneven distribution of weight. So as soon as I find out my balance and everything, and then I go to my designing and whatnot, a lot of tops are, they have they're made to be visually appealing, I guess, when they move. So then the movement is really what draws people to a spinning top. So then through the use of movement, I try to go wild with my designs and whatnot. A lot of people have that image that a top is like that. So I try to go beyond that and make things that are like not shaped like a top. You wouldn't imagine something like this would be able to spin because it's not shaped like a top, right? So I try to go crazy with it, and the Hopi style of tops is that they were simply made. They didn't have a handle to them, and how we play it is that we use a stick and a string. I forgot my stick, but just imagine I'm holding a stick. So then how we play it is that we wrap the string around the top like so, and then we get it, and I think that should be balanced okay, well, kind of, and then we get it and we hit the top with the string in order to keep it spinning. So we'd have a competition to see who could keep the top spinning longer. This one will be a better illustration here.
That's really cool.
There you go. So then, yeah, as it's spinning, then we'd have like a bunch of us would be around just playing in the dirt. And because they were in the dirt, once they get into the soft sand, then they start to slow down. So then we'd use the string as a whip, and then we'd hit the top, and then it would be able to keep it spinning as it's slowing down, so we'd have a competition to see who can keep the top spinning longest. So that would be the traditional Hopi method of play, but as I was saying, how the world is a humongous place, I was recently honored to be able to do a demonstration show of what I do at the Grand Canyon at the Desert View Watchtower, and that allowed me to, well, because I'm a toy maker, I study tops from around the world, different styles and methods of play and whatnot. So then when I went to the Grand Canyon and was able to do a demonstration for that week, that gave me a chance to use all of that theoretical knowledge that I learned in the books about other people's method of play. And the people that visited the Grand Canyon were from around the world. And you'd be surprised how many cultures have the same method of play as the Hopis. The Japanese, they play it the same way. There's a tribe in Mongolia that plays it the same way. In Italy, they have a game like that. In Brazil and South America, they call it a trompo, which is their method of play is much the same, but they'll get it and they'll throw it where it'll spin, and they'll have like a little nail on the bottom because it'll land and spin on that nail. So that gave me a chance to realize all of that knowledge from the mouths of the people that were from those different regions. So it's amazing to me that, the world's a huge place, but we all share the same method of play and style of top. So it's important, one of my big philosophies is to give to you little guys now is to, learn as much as you can, read, study up on different peoples and their cultures, don't be don't think that just your little place here in the world that's all there is. Strive to learn more. Study up on other stuff. And I never knew that a top that I used to play with that was made out of metal, and what it was, it had like a spring to it where you pump it and then it would spin. I didn't know, but then that top was a design made by the people of France. It's a French-made design developed in 1432. The French were masters of top making using springs and cogs and gears and whatnot, so they were like a mechanical masters of top making. And so in my studies, I found out that top that I played with as a child was of a 400-year-old design, So it was exciting to me to learn all of that. So then, now when I run into people and they say, "Oh, we play it like this in our country. We play it in this fashion." In Korea, they'll spin a bunch of them around, and then it'll be a game where they'll touch. So you're the loser. Then the last one that's left spinning is the winner. In Japan, they'll play the same method, but they'll have a humongous box, and they'll spin like 50 tops in there. And their idea is to have a little feather dipped in red ink on each one of the tops, so then as they're going to war in that little box, they're all touching each other's, and then they're leaving little marks on each other, so then the top that has the most little slashes on there is the loser, So it's funny to see how many different methods of play that are still basically the same used in different cultures. So as a toy maker, I'm always concerned about the safety of things. You see on toys nowadays they have warning choking hazards. I'm always worried about choking hazards, so I always kind of be conscientious about that. And not only that, as a toy maker, I come to find out over the years that the little babies, the little guys, they're visual, and they're everything is by feel and by taste. So then over the years I noticed that a little baby or maybe a small child will see the top and then or anything, they'll look at it, ooh and it goes in the mouth. So starting out I used to use an acrylic paint, but after I started noticing that, and then I was like, no, that's not right. I don't want a little some child becoming sick by ingesting paint flakes or harmful chemicals, because acrylic paint will chip and flake. They sit on top of the wood. So then, using different mediums, I've tried like oil and geez, what else? Crayon even. And I finally found out that a non-toxic watercolor is the thing to use. Because not only is it water soluble, but then it's non-toxic. So then now, when I do my coloring, what I do is I'll wet the wood through trial and error. I found out that, if you don't wet the wood first, it's real dull. But if you wet the wood, the pigment will break down and spread into the wood, thereby becoming a part of the wood. So then now, I don't have to worry about the colors coming off or chipping or flaking. If a little guy puts it in his mouth, it never fails. I've always seen it over and over. And my little niece is gonna be one, and every time she sees it, like, it goes in her mouth. So that proves my point over and over. So with the non-toxic watercolor, that allows me to not have to worry so much about the safety of the little ones. Try to be real conscientious about that. So. A lot of wood makers, they use any questions so far about anything? Anything at all? Okay, so a lot of wood carvers, they use what's called a linseed oil. It's a oil that's used to seal the wood, keep the color in there and whatnot. But I don't use it because of the same reason. It has chemicals in there, although they say it don't. I don't know where it's manufactured at. So right now I'm trying to develop a sealant using beeswax and coconut oil. That way it'll seal the wood, keep the color in there, and I don't have to worry even more worrying about chipping or flaking. So I'm always worried about the little ones. This machine here, if you guys are wondering what it is there's an art called pyrography. It's the art of burning your drawing. So you'll notice all of the little black lines on the tops and whatnot. These are all burned into the wood using this machine here. As an artist, this is one of my best investments in equipment. So you'll notice the tip is real fine, like a pen tip. So this enables me to pretty much draw whatever I can draw with the pencil. I can draw it with this, burn it into the wood using this machine here. So all of these little black lines here are actually burned into the wood. So then after that, and then I do my coloring with my non-toxic watercolor pencils. So a cool little story about a time I was at a show in Flagstaff. I had a little guy, he's, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. He came up to my table and he kept saying, "Oh, I want a top, I want a top, can I have one?" And I said, "Oh wow, as much as I'd like to, like I was at a show selling my tops, so I said, I'm afraid I can't." And then he was like, "Oh," he was all bummed, which kind of got me bummed, and because like my whole philosophy is trying to bring joy to the world and mirth. So but what he did was I guess he went home that night and he didn't tell his mom or anything, and then so the next day he was, I guess, pestered her to their football games were on, so he pestered her to get away from that to come to my booth again. And so I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Well, his name was Brent. So I said, "Hey Brent, how's it going?" He's all, "Oh, it's going good, look at this." So then what he did was he presented me with these, what are basically just lined papers, right? With little squares of lined paper, and I was like, "Oh, those are cool." So I went home and I made these for you because I wanted to show you what they do. And then I was all like, "Okay." So he came up to a little table and he spun them. They were a form of top. In he took his little ingenuity when he went home, and he folded these papers in a way that it was spin. So then he was all like, "I made these for you because I kept thinking about it, and I really want one of your tops." So basically what he was asking me is to trade for a top, and I was all like, I was so impressed that he went home and made something. He even made it so then that it would change color as it spun, which really like wowed me. So I was so impressed with it. I was like, "Take your pick," So to me it was a good trade, because I didn't see it as just three worthless pieces of paper. I saw it as that little kid's imagination and his efforts in, creating something. And not only that, like taking an initiative to get something he wanted through the use of bartering, which was how we all got things when we were little, or when we were younger, or when the world was a simpler place, I guess. So that I keep these little pieces of paper with me as a reminder that the magic of imagination is strong in the little kids, so in order for him to take something that's just a piece of lined paper and create it something that can spin and change colors, like I create things that spin and change color. One thing I want to go into is the use of movement through the use of blending colors through movement, I should say. I'm pretty sure, do you guys know what a color wheel is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay, a color wheel is, it's an aid that artists use where there'll be, I think it's 8 basic colors: black, white, red, blue, yellow, orange, and purple. Forgetting one.
Green.
Green, yeah, green. So a color wheel has those primary colors on the outside, and on the inside there's these little holes that allow you to mix those colors together. Like they say, one with white, one with black, one with gray. So you twist that little thing around to make different color blends. So one of my big things is through the use of movement, I like to blend colors. One of my favorite colors to make is the color purple, which, how many of you kids know any of the color blends to form other colors, or adults? Like, what does yellow and blue make?
Green.
Okay, yeah, red and blue make
Purple.
Purple.
yeah, okay, so you get it. So through the use of movement, I try to make my tops, visually appealing first, because they're sitting still, right? They have a lot of color to it, and, but I like to go a step further, and through the use of movement, I like to create colors. So you'll notice this is mostly red and blues, right? So these are what I like to call purple tops, where when it spins, they form the color purple. Here's another example of one right here. Red and blue make purple. So, what else here? There's a design that I like to use. I live in Salt River, Arizona, out there in the res. So, my grandmother was out the Salt River. So then she was a wood carver as well. So I like to use her as my inspiration for my design ideas through the use of basketry, because that's one of their main art forms out there to the Salt River Pimas. They're making baskets. So I like to make basket designs out of my tops. So one of my favorite designs is of a whirlwind. So I take the design and I call this design the whirlwind of color. It's very basic. There's usually like 5 to 7 lines in there, but what I like to do with it is that through use of color, movement and color blending, I'll take 5 to 7 colors and put them on there, and I won't know what the blend is until after I get done coloring it, so it's always a surprise to me to see which colors form, as I'm just taking 5 random colors out of the pile and throwing them on the top. So I'll create different colors and whatnot. So as a way of my thanks to be here and to pay it forward, I don't know if
I've been trying to get them out as you've been.
yeah, okay, cool. I wanted to offer like a raffle, or whatever, and then, and raffle off these 5 tops here to you guys as a thanks for, coming, for your time and whatnot, and your attention and everything. So, I know I'm a little late for, how the holidays are always skipping ahead 2 holidays, so it should be Valentine's Day right now, but, actually I can have one love top. For Valentine's, I usually, I'm always lucky to have, once in a while I'll find a piece of wood that's, heart-shaped. So rather than, carve the shape out, I'll just go with the basic shape of the wood. and just define the heart. So these are my Valentine's tops. There's a heart style top. I call them love tops. So they're little love tops. So though they're heart shaped, they still can still pretty good. So then anyway, so all the seasons or the holidays skip ahead a couple. I'm already into Easter. So what I like to do for Easter is I like to make an egg-shaped top. And then on it, I like to put a little a basket design. So like it'll be a Easter egg basket top. So this design here is what I was calling the whirlwind of color. And in a few minutes, I'll be calling out 5 numbers. And then I would like for the winners of this of the tops to, well, actually the parents, actually, our guardians. I would like them to, in a way, to become engaged with your child, and also learning through play, as I like to say. Sit with your child and maybe go to the art store together for them, or even Walmart or somewhere where you can buy them a 8-piece watercolor set, something simple, and then take it home with your child and color the top. Try to come up with different color blends for yourself. At this point in my career, if I see something that's colorful, like in my mind, I see it spinning. So I'm always blending different colors together in my head. So then, this would be a way for you guys to engage with your child, and share art with them. Share your imaginations. Who knows? Maybe your little kid magic will start sparking up and come back to life again. So then, just the simplest way I color it is to just get a paintbrush or whatever, and then just wet the top with paint it with water. Is basically what you're doing. And then after that, once you apply the pencil to it, the pigment will break down and start becoming more vibrant as it's soaking into the wood. So, just go wild with your imaginations and come up with some cool colors or cool design ideas, color blends and whatnot. This will give you a chance to interact with your child more, and like I'm saying, I'm hoping it'll spark your interest in the dying art of play, So, that's, I think, basically what I have. If you guys have any questions, I do all different sorts of art forms. I'm not trying to just stay grounded into one medium, I guess is what it is. Like I say, I'm a butcher by trade, so I can go on and on about that and turn like a piece of meat into a beautiful steak. And I like to work with different mediums. These are linoleum block prints, block carvers. See, this thing here is just a linoleum tile glued over a piece of wood. But what I do is I carve images into them, my Valentine's Day cards. And the simplest way to do this is to get a potato and just etch a little design out on there. Get a like watercolor pad or whatever. Put it in there, make it into a stamp. So I like to do these and make a little different greeting cards and whatnot. So this would be my sunflower on a cloudy day, which would be probably this one here. This one is a frog. It's hunting dragonflies in the moonlight. Under stars, that would be that one there. That's like my very first block that I ever tried to carve out. So it's like a little rough in the beginning, and then one of my favorite ones to do is this one here, the little sea turtle. I have an affinity for sea turtles, so that I make sea turtles, the baby sea turtles racing to the sea. But so I'll give these out to the parents and whatnot, however many supplies I have there. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer. Just about anything basically. If you guys. Any of you kids have any questions about, what was this question before the child? Yes, miss.
How long does it take you to carve out one of your tops?
Okay, good question. Depending on the diameter of the wood, let's see, something of this size, which I call my, small top size. I go smaller than this size, so I can make a top that big, exactly the same design. I call them micro tops. So something like this, because of the diameter of the wood and because I only use rasp, would take me like maybe 15 minutes to make the tip. And then depending, well, I got it down pat now, so really, yeah. Whereas before it would take me like maybe, I don't know, 45, 30 minutes or so. So just depending on the diameter of the wood, whereas something like this would take me like over an hour just to make the tip, from grind. So, from start to finish, one of my small tops here would probably be, I guess, 4 hours. And then, something like this size would probably take me, well, this is taking me a couple of weeks. It would take me over an hour just to make the tip, and then from there, depending on the design and whatnot, that would take into factor, like, let's see here. Okay, this one, for example, is something that's simple. It's gonna be a flower, but all the petals are carved in there. This would take me like maybe 4 or 5 days to complete with the burning and the etching of the petals and all of that. And there's still a lot of work to do. I'm gonna carve a dragonfly on the bottom. And but I don't know, depends. 5 hours to 2 weeks, depending on the piece and amount of detail that goes into it. I carve little corns. But I'll carve a large corn that'll probably be about this size. Cool fact about corn is that every kernel or every ear of corn, they all have an equal number of kernels on there, of layers and whatnot. So this has, I think, 38 kernels on there. The biggest I've done is 96 kernels of corn. But that was on a big old piece of wood where every kernel of corn was carved out, so that had a lot of detail to it. So something like that took me like nearly 2 weeks to carve. Just depends, the level of detail and style and whatnot. But yeah, anywhere from 5 hours to, I think 3 weeks is my total length of time for a really what I call showpiece tops. I go to a lot of, oh yes, miss.
How many of them have you made?
Oh wow, good question. Jeez, I used to keep track. So I started in 2006, off and on as a butcher, and really didn't have a lot of time to make tops. So let's see, there was a time when I was making 30 tops a month. I'd say I want to say 1,600. So far, since 2006. It could be more or less, but yeah. I like to work in batches, so I got these little compartments. These help me keep track of how many I make. So then 32 and 15, that's what, 47. So then I try to go for 50, when I go to shows and whatnot. I do art shows like here and there, and demonstration shows and whatnot. So 50 I'd say every month. So we'll do that. 50 a month for 12 months. So we're good at math. 0, 0, 1, 600 a year, I'd say. Yeah, so I'd say 600 a year. And that's just by, all by hand. Imagine if I used a lathe or a wood turning machine where it would take me 2 minutes to make the tip. In something like this, rather than an hour. So, if I used a lathe, I'd probably already be topping 1 million, but then it would take away from the aspect of it, the energy of it, I like to think that I'm putting energy into the wood, design-wise and whatnot, and not only that, just by doing it by hand.
Are you teaching anybody this or having them sit alongside you to learn it?
Well, right now, I was having my son do it for a while, but the impatience of youth is another thing. So, yeah, he's really doing his own thing. But then, my little granddaughters, they're 4 and 2 now, and they're really taking an interest to it. And I really would like to have an apprentice, is because I have no peers. There's nobody that I know that makes tops. Well, there's one guy, he lives in South Dakota, and they have a top. I can't say the word in their language, but theirs is a dancing wood is what it's called in their language. So, but yeah, I'm always interested in taking on apprentices, I would start them off as as any apprenticeship program would go, like me as a meat cutter when I was an apprentice, all you do is watch. That's what you do for the first year is watch, You see what's going on and learn technique and whatnot. So if anything, if I had an apprentice, they would start off by sanding, which would be the least dangerous thing to do, you know? And, but yeah, I'm always interested in sharing my theoretical knowledge, you know, that's what it all is. I'm still learning as a wood carver and a toy maker as well, so. Yeah, I mean, I'm always on the lookout for little helpers and people that are interested in it, you know, even just with the coloring and whatnot. So, if you guys have unruly kids, you know, come bring them to me. I'll put them to work. I used to have like I said, that I started with my daughter, and she was my main demonstrator, sidekick, you know, when I was really doing this just as a way to make money. 9 times out of 10, she'd be the one to make the sale through her demonstrating the use of clay and all of that, you know. So, I'm always on the lookout for a little one that to, you know, take with me to my shows and whatnot, because that really more than anything draws in the interest of people, the act of playing. So, yeah, you know, I'm always on the lookout. Yeah, you guys have any other questions and whatnot? I guess just these here? Oh, these are my business cards. You guys can all feel welcome to take one. And you had a question too, miss? No, you there in the yellow shirt. I think yeah.
How many designs have you made on your tops?
Excuse me?
Designs.
Oh, designs? Jeez, oh man, so many that I actually lost some designs. You see, my designs, I don't draw them beforehand on a piece of paper or anything like that. If I see a piece of wood, I'll just see what, I don't know how to explain it really. I see into the wood, and whatever I see in the wood, that's what I bring out of it. So a lot of my designs are just like off the top of my head. And like this one right here is going to be a frog coming, or 2 frogs actually, coming out of a cloud. It's going to be pulling itself out. So right now you can just see the eyes and the hands coming out of there. So a lot of my designs are just, I like to put meaning into the design work, but they just all come off the top of my head, and I've lost, geez, I don't know how many designs just from not taking pictures of the tops and whatnot and then selling them. So I'm always, but in a way that really helps me, because each one will be unique in their own fashion. There's only very few designs that I use all the time. Whirlwind of color, my purple cloud design, my rabbit hunting scene, this design here, Hawaii wood theme design. But otherwise, all of the other thousands of tops I've made, there's maybe 2, 3 that are identical in a way, but not totally identical. Some people want to have me make a top like I made. Oh, make me one like that, you know. And it's hard for me to do because I don't really like to make the same thing. I want everybody to have their own unique pill top. You know? Anybody else? All right, thank you, parents, for coming, and let's start this drawing thing here.
Thank you.